I am so happy with how this looks for the Rangers. We have a pitcher, Jack Leiter, and he is a dude.
And while I do think his hitting is worse than Derek Jeter, it's not that far off.
You're not mentioning 2006. You can mention the other people, not 2006.
Oh, just because I bought the best soap doesn't mean your room's going to be clean. It just leaves it to where I don't believe that the Canadians had a shot.
I really don't like the Clippers just kind of sending it in when they're like...
Hi, this is Kelly Forbes with the Dallas Stars, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. We are about a month and a half from the season starting, and that means we're gearing up in off-season mode and kind of leaving off-season mode, and now we're doing top 10s again. And this is the second year for our NBA top 10s. And this one I have learned from the man that has the percentages of where each player started, Austin.
Yeah, so this can be confusing. It definitely can. I think point guard's probably the easiest one, though. I feel like most of the players that are on this list are purely just point guards. So this one isn't that bad, but I'll let you start.
Yeah, so
one thing first. Yeah. This is for the 25 season, so this isn't a last year's ranking. This is a prediction for the next year.
Yeah, this one was fun to come up with, and it's something I'm very interested in. And now I went off the Basketball Reference, and it had their position listed, so I went with that. This one, a pretty stacked group. When you look at point guard, my number 10 is Ja Morant.
Okay, so you do include John yours. I do as well. I have him a little bit higher than you. But my number 10 is Trae Young. Trae Young it's been a weird time in Atlanta, and I don't think Atlanta's going to be all that great this year, so I could see them definitely being worse off and him not playing the greatest this year.
Yeah, Trae Young was a tough cut for me because I wanted to include Ja and some of the other players, but when you look at assists, Trae Young was in the top 3 for the 23-24 NBA season in assists. I want to say it was assists per game. No. Okay. I remember he was doing really well in assists per game compared to how bad they were. He was 8 in assists, and then it was a little bit lower on... Can't find him. Okay, it does not list him in the assists per game. But he's a guy that has a lot of assists, but has struggled a little bit recently, so tough cut for me.
Okay, who is your 9?
My 9 is Tyrese Halliburton.
Wow.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Wow. That's
really
insane.
Well, he is...
Who do you have above him is just, wow.
Because he is such a great an assist guy. He assists per...
Does it not matter that he helped lead a team to the Eastern Conference Final as definitely their best player?
He did, but he also, to me, he had a weird season this past year. I was a guy that had a lot of high hopes for him, and it looked like he failed in some areas, but also played well during times too.
So Tyrese Halliburton last year was a All-NBA member, so you don't think he will be this year by your ranking?
Yeah, no.
Not even close, actually, because there's only 3 point guards that usually make it, sometimes 4. Sometimes, if it's really crazy, 5. So you don't even think he's going to be close.
Yeah, no. There are... Point guard, it seems tough, especially at the top. But, yeah.
Okay. My number 9 is Cade Cunningham. I think this is a year that he really comes into his own. Detroit looks to be like a lot better team, and hopefully he can come and be a more impactful player. Last year, he averaged around 23, 8, and 4. on not the greatest splits in the world, but I feel like the team around him is a little bit better, and I think that he is going to try to push this team into becoming playoff contenders. He's not going to make the playoffs, in my opinion. Kind of give you a hint of where I have them ranked, but I think they'll be playoff contenders to make the playoffs.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my 9.
Yeah, I think Cade Cunningham is an up and comer, but he is just not on my list. So it's tough. Looking like we have a lot of different lists. I'll let you do your 8.
My 8 is De'Aaron Fox. Fox had a good season last year, not as good as the year before, but still a very solid season. He's still one of the clutchest players in the NBA. His shooting percentages when the game is on the line is extremely high, and that helps him out close out games. But I think the addition of DeMar will be important for the team. I don't know necessarily how it's going to help or hurt him. Last year, he averaged 27, 6, and 5 with 2 steals. He shot 37% from 3, which is good. I think he'll be the 8th best point guard.
All right, so he is my 8th best point guard as well. I think he does a great job defending. He was a leader in steals per game last season, or he was tied with Shea in steals, and then steals per game he led with 2. I think he's a great defender. I gave him the edge because from last season it looked like Tyrese Haliburton, and this probably was because he was dealing with an injury. De'Aaron Fox was more consistent than Tyrese Haliburton, and I do think next year it could change, but De'Aaron Fox I just viewed as 8.
You think he was more consistent, you said?
Yes. And Tyrese Haliburton. Tyrese Haliburton had some struggles from what I remember.
I don't know. I sure he had a couple of stretches where he wasn't the greatest, but those are usually like the week after an injury, the 2 weeks after an injury. He still averaged the most assists in the NBA last year.
He is a great assist, but I also thought about his points, and there were moments in the game where if I'm looking at the Eastern Conference Finals, he had 9 points in game 1, and then game 2 at 12 points.
Is playing against the Celtics really the fairest assessment of that? They have Drew Holiday and Derek White, both members of the all defense team.
Actually, I flipped it. It was against Milwaukee. I'm thinking about Eastern Conference round 1.
Okay.
But he did, to his credit, in one game he had 25 points and 10 points against Boston, but then he got injured.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at the Celtics series. He averaged 17.5 in that series, but only played 2 games because he was hurt.
Yeah. So and I still think he's going to be a great player, but to me, this list was really tough given just kind of the past accomplishments from other guys that are above him.
Not many of the guys. De'Aaron Fox has nothing near Haliburton when it comes to his All-NBA that Haliburton has and the assist champ. There's not many guys in the league that have that.
But to me, I'm going off last season, and I do
Fox
think there's
didn't even make the playoffs last season.
But to me, he's still a great player, and he's felt more consistent than Tyrese Haliburton last year. The scoring wise,
that's not the entirety of Haliburton. Haliburton averaged 2 steals a game and averaged the most assists per game. It's not really just because you don't score as much doesn't make you a worse player.
But to me, he would have those high scoring and then low scoring. De'Aaron Fox seemed more consistent, and he does have the defensive side.
What's insistent about Haliburton is his passing. That's what he does best. That is what makes him great. Is the way that he play makes. If he is inconsistent scoring, that's again Fox would be inconsistent passing. He only averaged like 5 assists or 6 assists last year. It's more about what you're consistent about, and Haliburton's a much more consistent passer than almost anyone in the league.
Okay, we're splitting hairs here because actually we're not. I feel like I'm splitting hairs because De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton are right close to each other, but I haven't heard your thought. I haven't heard your ranking, so I can
Yeah.
understand.
So who is your 7?
My 7 is Damian Lillard.
You're talking about
I-
inconsistency.
I know he had a struggle team, but to me, maybe it's just what he's done in the past, and maybe he is most likely on the decline. But I felt like giving him one more thing of respect. I want to see one more year. This is his second year with the Bucks. Does he play to what we all thought he would be when he joined the Bucks, or is it kind of what he did last season?
Yeah, Dame did not make my list.
Okay. All right. So who's your 7?
My 7 is Tyrese Maxey for the 76ers. Maxey is an incredible player. He really helped bolster the 76ers playoff chances while Embiid was hurt. And Maxey will continue to be, I think, their second best player. I know Paul George is there, but I think Paul George will be not relied upon as much to score. Maxey averaged more points last year than Paul George. Paul George only averaged 22, while Maxey averaged 26. Maxey, I think, will be more heavily relied on scoring, while Paul George should be the best defender on the team. Paul George will still average over 20. Don't get me wrong. He will. But if we're talking the offensive side, I think Paul George is the third mount to feed. I don't think he's second. I think it's Maxey. I think that Maxey, again, will average around the same amount of points, maybe a little bit less because, again, the Paul George mouth would need to get fed. But Maxey averaging 26 and 6 while shooting 37% from 3. I think he's an incredible player, and that's why he's my 7.
All right. Tyrese Maxey is did not make my list, but he there are a lot of guys pushing for this list, especially Maxey is a great defender, and I don't think it's a super hot take to say he is the second best player. And he really stepped up for Joel Embiid. I'm interested to see what happens in Philadelphia with him and just that entire lineup.
Okay, I'm really interested to see who you have because I don't know what guy you could. I mean, I think I know who you have, and it may be a little bit biased, but we'll see when we get to it.
Yeah, the top to me was pretty set, and then I was like, oh well, I gotta have this guy, and then I'm like, oh no, I don't have these guys. Number 6 is James Harden.
How? Okay, I thought about having Harden. Harden's probably my 11.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I think I didn't have Harden.
The problem is that Harden only averaged 16, 5, and 9 while not shooting the greatest from the field. He did shoot well from 3, and he did have a good season. He was a big reason why the Clippers were good in the regular season.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to give it to him, and he did step up in the playoffs. He had some great game. He had the great game against Mav with the floaters, and it was a tough team where it looked like he was going to be sharing a lot of time, but there were injuries to Kawhi, and he kind of had to hold the ball more. And to me, I just felt I had to include him on this list. His drop off in assists from the year before, when he was still with Philadelphia, it was about 3 assists, but given
2.
just the
10.7 to 8.5.
Okay.
So
Okay,
2.2.
Okay, 2.2, which I chalk that up to Philadelphia. The leaving Philadelphia and the Clippers dealing with some injuries and sort of those assists as well, and losing that assist when you had Embiid and Maxey in Philadelphia.
Okay, who is your 6?
That James Harden is my 6. Who is
Okay.
your 6?
Okay, my 6 is Tyrese Halliburton. So I have Halliburton at 6. I'm much higher on Halliburton than you are. I think he's the best passer in the NBA besides Jokic. The way he finds guys as a he's a pass first player. And I think that's kind of what turns some people off. I guess it turns you off because he's not scoring as much as some other players. But he definitely is a much more of a, okay, let me see who I can get open more than trying to get himself open. But still, he shoots efficiently as a point guard. He shoots 48% from the field, 86% from the free throw line. He had a little bit of a down year shooting wise, 36.4, but that's still above league average. So it's nothing too bad. He had some games where he didn't get as many steals, and that's why his steal numbers dropped a little bit towards the end of the year. But that was more because of the injury to his hamstring than anything. during the playoffs, he shot better from the field and from three, and he averaged less points, but I think that's just a testament to how tough the NBA playoffs are.
Yeah, and I do really think his injury bothered him. There was that talk with JJ Redick when he was still doing podcasts where he talked about he came earlier given that All-NBA requirement to play more games, and I do think that really hampered him. He's a guy that I do really think can shoot into the top 5 by next season. The cut to make top 5 was really close. These guys, I could see James Harden being argued. I could even see Ja. I felt like I was putting Ja too low. And I do think if Tyrese Halliburton gets better from 3 just a little bit, like he was in 2022, he will definitely shoot into that top 5.
I'm trying to think of the one guy I'm missing out of my top 5 because I don't have the 5 you're thinking that I have.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I really thought Tyrese Halliburton was going to be in your 5.
No, I'll go into my 5. My 5 is Ja Morant. I think that Ja, fully healthy, can definitely be a top 5 point guard this upcoming year. And it's really the year that he needs to break out and to prove that he still has it after all the controversies and injuries that he's had. This is really the year for him to prove himself.
I agree. And he was a guy, it was sort of that trajectory with Tyrese Halliburton where you're like, okay, this guy will be a top 5 point guard, arguably top 3. My 5 is close to Damian Lillard, and it's Jamal Murray. They didn't have great seasons, but I feel like he's going to bounce back, and he can be that guy with what he was in that playoff run, and do more of that. To me, we have him as a great duo in the past with Jokic, and I really think he can step up and be that A guy for the Nuggets when everyone's focusing on Jokic. So I wanted to put him at 5.
He did not make my list. Jamal Murray isn't on my list, mainly because I'm thinking of it more I guess I'm kind of thinking of it more as a regular season. Also, he did have some postseason struggles when the Nuggets needed him to show up in some big games. I definitely think that come playoff time, Jamal Murray's a different player. And so I can understand if you're looking at playoffs and having him this high. But he's just not made my top 5. Who is your 4?
My 4 is Jalen Brunson.
Okay.
Jalen really stepped up for the Knicks. He is a great scorer, and he does get some assists as well. And he was number 9 in assists this year. But to me, it's really that scoring aspect, and he's okay on defense. But the scoring to me and what he's done for the Knicks, and he's really been their A guy, and they did go to get close to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's going to be a big year for him.
Yeah, I had Brunson higher than you. My 4 is Stephen Curry. Curry, I do think, is still an elite player, and I definitely think that he will have a great season. I just think the 3 guys above him are just better at this point. Curry last year averaged 26, 5, and 5, still shooting 40% from 3 as always. The only thing is his team is definitely worse, and it continues to get worse, and I think that he may have to force himself and will himself to play at a higher level than he's maybe just play harder than he needs to do at this time of his career. So that's why I have him at 4. My 3 is Brunson. Brunson averaged 29, 4, and 7 last year, basically, while averaging 32.4 points in 13 playoff games. One of the best playoff performers of it in the NBA last year. And he consistently tried to do everything to put the Knicks on his back and carry them as far as he could carry them. He had arguably the best playoffs of anyone last year. No one was averaging 32 points per game through 2 series and almost beat the higher seeded or were the Knicks? What team were the Knicks? Oh, the Knicks were just
weren't they 2?
No, the Knicks were 2. Yeah. I was talking about. In my head, I was thinking Pacers, but said Knicks. It was just injuries really derailed what could have been a much better season for the Knicks. I mean, they were really relying on I mean, OG in Game 7 played 4 minutes. They were 40 minutes from Miles McBride. They really had to rely on some other guys. And while Brunson didn't have the greatest Game 7 of his career, again, Dante DiVincenzo was the leading scorer in the entire game. It just felt like the Pacers were the healthier team, and as their entire starting lineup put up 19 or more. But I do think that Brunson will have an amazing year this year after averaging 28 basically last year. I do think that this upcoming season, well, he almost averaged 29 actually. He was top 5 in MVP voting. I could definitely see that again.
Yeah, definitely. He's really blossomed at New York with the ball primarily in his hands. I do have a Curry above him, and to me that was a legacy vote of I'm going to give Curry the edge. I still think he is the best point guard, and I just couldn't see myself. Or okay, yeah, I guess I gave away part of it. Curry, I think, is a great point guard and gave the edge to him in other situations. My number 3 was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He is a guy who does annoy me at sometimes, but compared to some other guys and what the league talks about, he's a guy that really stepped up in the playoffs, and he would just knock down jumpers that he needed to in the playoffs, especially against the Mavs that helped him one game. And he is such an incredible defender that he deserves to be in top 3.
And who's your 2?
My 2 is Luka. And I'm not sure where you fall in the Luka versus Shai debate, as that has sort of just come up, and I'm sure I'll hear it soon. To me, I know Luka is not the best defender, and Shai is a better defender, but to me, Luka is a great assist player, a great scorer, and people will point to his playoffs. To me, he was dealing with an injury, so he wasn't that good defender because he just let guys go past him, and he couldn't do that. And he does lack effort sometimes on defense. But I really think we've seen him play well defensively, and it comes down conditioning. And I think that's going to be better for him. We saw it in the regular season. There were moments in the Clippers series before the injury started packing on. He was a defender. He made some key blocks. And I want to say he blocked Shai, but I think both are great guys, and I give the edge to Luka.
I have Shai at 2 and Luka at 1. It's really close. I did give the edge to Shai. I mean, the edge to Luka. Maybe it's because Luka made it to the finals last year. Maybe it's because Luka beat Shai in that matchup. It's really close, and I could see it really going either way. I just lean Luka for this upcoming season. I think this could be a big year for him.
I agree. And so my one, which I sort of give away, it's Steph Curry. I just couldn't see putting Luka above him or Shai, but I understand. I do think this is probably the last year I have Steph Curry as one, but he's so great, and he's so great at 3-point, but his team is really deteriorating around him, and that's going to put a lot on him, and that's going to be tough for someone his age.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, so that concludes our top 10 list. Let us know if there's anyone you disagree with. I would say probably the only disagreement, the major disagreement was Tyrese Halliburton, but also Ja. I had Ja at 10, you had Ja at 5, and then I had Jamal Murray. So let us know your thoughts, and we settled in at the top. It was getting to the top that was different for us.
Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions, and we will be doing more positions, so be on the lookout for that.